Hey, how's it going, guys? Phil Blazik here. I am the cover artist for a new game we're all very excited about coming out from Axiom RPG Systems. It is Upper Hand Wrestling, a tabletop game, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. And I thought, who better than to bring in but the brains behind the operation himself, Zachariah. Zach, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage here, filling in for Zachariah. I also helped in the game's creation in an advisory capacity, mainly so that dirty no-good Hogan could get his hands on it.
Zach, what are you doing?
No Zach here! Only Macho Man Randy Savage, cream of the crop, always rises to the top, like Upper Hand, an Axiom RPG system.
I did not sign up for this.
Upper Hand is a fast-paced card system that lets you experience the heart-pounding thrills of being inside the squared circle without taking any bumps yourself. Oh yeah! It also features an all-play system that allows everyone at the table to not only play a character, but game master others as well, so no one is left out. Dig it? You can pick up your copy at Drive-Thru Games at drivethrurpg.com. The link is on your screen, but don't click the link as we are too poor for hyperlinks. Oh yeah.
That's great.
Oh yeah.
One thing, Zach.
Oh yeah.
Macho Man is dead.
Oh no.
Time to get your fix.
Come on down, get your horrible gaming review. 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 Wow.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and welcome to another horrible game review. Been a little while since I've done this, guys. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and honestly, I wasn't playing a lot of new games, but trying to get back into it, so here we go again. You guys know the drill, though. We got to get back in with the disclaimers. Number one, the word horrible in the title of this review does not necessarily refer to the game or DLC that I am reviewing, but much more the actual content itself. I do snap judgment reviews here, meaning I get 5 to 10 hours max with a game before I review it. I'm trying to tell you right off the bat if you're going to enjoy it or not. First impressions sort of thing. That, coupled with the fact that I think video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I will not be giving a scored review. I don't do that here. Instead, I'll tell you the overview of what the game is, the pros and the cons of the game, in my point of view, as all reviews are, and then I'll tell you whether I will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review. So, what I'm reviewing today is Rumbleverse. It has just dropped into Epic Game Stores as well as Xbox, PlayStation, possibly Switch. I'm not 100% sure on that. And what is Rumbleverse? Rumbleverse is probably one of the most bizarre concept games I have ever had the pleasure of playing. Rumbleverse is a battle royale game. It's 40 players, and it is melee professional wrestling based, but with a cartoony aesthetic, as you're seeing on the screen right now. So you'll drop in with 40 other players. It is either you or you and a friend, so duos and singles only. You drop into a zone and you go to war with each other. You can pick up power-ups that increase your health, your attack power, and your stamina. Your stamina is how much you can do and run as far as attacks go. And then there's kind of a rock, scissors, paper system with the attacking. There's a block, which tends to stop your just normal strike attacks. Then there's vicious moves, which are basically all your grapples, your old school wrestling grapples. Those are a little bit slower to get off, but they defeat blockers. And then, of course, your strikes beat vicious moves every time. There's also some priority basing stuff that's a little bit weird with super attacks versus non-super attacks, stuff like that. But that's basically the gist. Once you get into play, though, instead of collecting weapons, which there are still plenty of weapons to collect, bats, steel chairs, road signs, stuff like that, you actually collect these books that give you wrestling techniques. And these wrestling techniques are wrestling moves from across the world and also non-wrestling moves, which we'll kind of get into in some of the pros and cons. But you can get super kick strikes to big choke slam vicious attacks and everything in between. As you fight people and hit people, you will also gain superstar power. If you've collected all your superstar power, you can save it up, and when you get knocked down, you'll automatically come back with 30% of your life, giving you a second chance. Or you can activate a superstar mode where you do more damage, you're faster, and if you hit with a superstar attack, you do this huge spinning powerbomb thing that really knocks people out. One of the other interesting things about this game is the amount of distance you fall from a maneuver is how much damage you take. The game itself actually takes place in a empty, deserted cityscape, which is another kind of weird concept to it, because there's all these wrestlers in a city instead of a ring or something. But it's a big, empty cityscape. So if you're on top of a building and you chokeslam somebody off the building, they will take significantly more damage than if you just chokeslam them to the same level that they're on. In addition to this, you have this elbow drop you can do. It's your jumping attack. And if you jump off a huge building with the elbow attack, the farther you fall, the more the damage does. So you can just drop on people and KO them, which is another interesting mechanic. One of the cool things about this game, which we'll talk about on pros, is that you can climb anything here, kind of akin to Breath of the Wild. There is no surface that is non-traversable, so with that in mind, it is a very vertical sort of game, kind of akin to Naraka and their grappling hook sort of aspect to them. Other than that, it's a battle royale at its core. Be the last one standing. Slowly the area in which you can fight in shrinks. The more you're outside that ring, you've got a 10-second count once you're outside that ring to get back inside that ring, or you die automatically. And yeah, you gain points, microtransactions, yada yada yada, rinse, repeat. So that's it. That's Rumbleverse. It's in a hole. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the pros and cons. We like to go positive first, so let's talk about the pros. Number one, the combat system. Now look, the combat system of this is one of the most uniques I've ever seen. I've played a lot of melee-based fighting competitive games. I'm a huge For Honor fan, and I play a lot of Naraka Blade Point, another game that's very comparable to this in weird ways, because it's a melee-based battle royale. With Rumbleverse, it is very slow and very methodical. You can take a lot of damage, especially if you've boosted your health abilities with the random power-ups you find around the map. That being said, you can escape from combat pretty easily, especially since there is always a fight going on, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the pros later, but you're almost always in a fight, and it's almost always more than just you and one other person, so it makes it a little bit easier to escape, as well as get the jump on people. That being said, it's very methodical, very slow, and very timing based. You have to know not just what to use against each thing, but how to use it. Case in point, vicious attacks take different types of amounts of time to actually charge up and hit. So if somebody's blocking and they see you go for a vicious attack, they have a half second to drop their block and do a strike and stop you. So there is a weird awareness to it. Plus, if you kind of run away and come back and time your strike right, you can hit somebody who maybe wasn't ready for it. I think that this game is really interesting on that level because it really makes you think about in the fight, and it takes out a lot of the twitch-based, reactive-based gameplay. Look, Naraka Blade Point is great, and the best players out there can get out of just about any situation. But still, if you're an average player and somebody surprises you, they've got 50% of your health gone before you even realize what's happening enough to react. With this game, that's not true. You take a couple of blows, sure, they've got an advantage, sure, but you can get back into it pretty easily if you time your blows correctly and you think about how you attack. I really like that. My next pro is the fall damage. Look, the fall damage is the most unique thing about this game, as subtle as it may be. And I know it's a unique concept, wrestling, open city, battle royale, kind of a bunch of kind of weird ideas thrown into a soup bowl. But the fall damage for damage is amazing. And don't get me wrong, you don't take fall damage if you just drop. There's a little stun animation if you fall too far, but you don't take any damage. But if somebody hits you and you're falling because of that, your damage modifier just keeps going up and up and up. That's just so cool. I don't know why. It's just so unique and so interesting. It makes timing your attacks and really strategically thinking about where you're hitting somebody so much more interesting. I had one guy where I was fighting with him on a rooftop, and I managed to hide behind a kind of an outcropping, and he came the wrong way around it, and I used a spear move that knocked him off the building. So I speared him off the building all the way down to the road, and it KO'd him. It would have never KO'd him if I just hit him on the building. That kind of stuff is really cool. It gives real weight to the situation and the terrain that you're fighting in, which other games might not necessarily do. My next pro is the ring size. Another unique thing they do about this game is they kind of force everybody into a hot drop situation. First of all, the way they launch you is out of a cannon, so there's almost no way to tell where everybody's going to drop ahead of time. Unlike you're dropping people out of an airship sort of Warzone style, or even your pick a location and you can see where everybody else is picking style. No. That's when you just shoot out of a cannon. You can see everybody else shooting out of a cannon, but you don't have to drop when you don't have to drop, and you don't really know where everybody's going. It's kind of a crazy, crazy way to start it. But even more so than that, as large as the map of this is, you are never allowed to start in all of it, which is unlike most battle royales, which most battle royales you could start anywhere on the map. The zone is random, and then you have to make your way to it. The first zone is already calculated, and if you land outside of it, you're out, period. So it forces hot drops. Everybody is dropping into kind of the same big area. You're fighting all the time. There's always someone near you to battle, and that is really interesting. It just forces the action, it forces the play, and it almost totally eliminates people just hiding out and waiting for the right moment to strike. I mean, sure, you still get some of that, but it's definitely reduced in this. Okay, let's talk about the cons, alright? Because there's definitely some cons. Number one with a bullet, without a doubt, the microtransactions and the lack of stuff in the beginning. Look, I understand you're making your money on the customization in a game like this due to microtransactions and battle passes and whatnot, but there is almost nothing to really customize your character with right off the bat, much like Fall Guys. You have to earn it all, and that's just so annoying. Give us a couple of choices in the beginning. I mean, I understand you're making your money off this, but like a couple of choices would be nice. I mean, there's definitely more here than Fall Guys initially, because there's a couple of body types, there's a couple of different gloves, a couple of different hairstyles, but overall, you don't get really anything in the beginning, and that's a little bit of a bummer for me anyway. My next con has got to be the connection to wrestling here. Look, it's weird because it goes up and down, and it's hard for me really to decide how much of a con this is, but like some of these things have moves in it that seem like real deep cuts, like the chokeslam is in here, or the super kick, which would have been easy to call it a standing sidekick and not really understand wrestling that way. So it's obviously some wrestling terminology. But then there's just these crazy moves that no wrestler would ever do, like the 100 hand slap from E Honda. I've never seen a professional wrestler do that. Or like the dolphin dive, like stuff like that that's just made up, whereas it'd be so much easier to keep it tied to those deep cut wrestling things to really bring more wrestling fans into it. I understand that it's got a cartoony aesthetic, and that's a little bit of a drawback, but you have to have a cartoony aesthetic with the kind of virtual insanity of the premise of this game. But that doesn't mean you don't have to have some like real earnest wrestling moves in there that I would have loved to see. I mean, and there's no way to do submissions or anything like that, which Again, I kind of get they're going for fast-paced action, but I feel like with the moves, they could have gone a little bit more on the deep cut side, and it would have made a lot of wrestling fans a little bit more attracted to a game like this. The next con I'm going to only mention as a con because I feel like most people would have a problem with this. I really don't. You can only play solos and duos, and most battle royales people like to go in as a squad or a trio. That's just not an option here. It's just you or you and one other person. Now, personally, I play these games solo, or usually I play them with one other guy. You know who you are, Asylum. And then that's it. I mean, very rarely do we have a third, so it's fine for me that this is just a duos mode. Nonetheless, I think most, on average, battle royale players tend to enjoy playing this with their friends, so they would probably want a trios or a squad-based gameplay, which this just doesn't have. Okay, that's it. That's my big review. Am I going to stick with it? Yes, I am. I am enjoying it, and I'm a sucker for a melee combat-based battle royale every time. This is free to play, and I really enjoy the methodical thing. I really have a chance to think and breathe in the combat, which is nice compared to other games. So that being said, I'm definitely going to stick with it. Probably going to play it a little bit more and see how it shakes out. Maybe even stream it. So that being said, I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Did you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Is this something you want to try? Did I get this right? Did I get this wrong? Comments below, or of course you can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingTH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. You can influence us in all of our shows from there. And till next time, as long as you keep watching, listening, I'll keep making them.